So now we get on to the second part of the question, which will involve using this identity we've just proved. Okay, so for x between 0 and 360, we need to solve this equation. This part should look familiar. Okay, equal to 1 plus 3 sine x. So we simply replace the left-hand side with what we proved it to be. 2 sine x, 1 plus 3 sine x. Okay, they used a in the first part and x in the second part. And we don't like having a denominator, so we're going to multiply through by sine x. And then hopefully you see that we've got a hidden quadratic. I'm going to move everything to the right hand side to keep the sine squared term positive. Okay, and then I'm going to cheat and use the calculator again to find my different solutions. So we've got coefficients 3, 1 and minus 2. So we get 2/3 and negative 1. Okay, so sine x is 2/3. Sine x is negative 1. Let's look at the 2/3 first. So if we inverse sine 2/3, then we get 41.8 degrees. Okay, we use a cast diagram. So here sine is positive. So we're just looking in the quadrants where sine is positive. Okay, and that should give us a stick above the x-axis, and the angle made is 41.8 each way. So if we do some whirling around from 0 to 360, we hit 41.8 and then we hit 180 minus that answer, which is 138.2. Okay. Right, let's look at sine is negative 1. So 0, negative 1, positive 1, it's easier looking at the graph because otherwise it happens on the sticks, on the axes. So we want to go from 0 up to 360. Okay, and we're interested in where sine is equal to negative 1. So here we are. So that's all going to be at 270 degrees as well. Okay, just to remind you, you can check on your calculator. So if you go to options, calc, solve n, and then you type your equation in. So I'm going to, instead of having to type that out, I'm going to use the identity. So I've got 2 over sine, and I'm using the variable x, not alpha x, but the variable x. To get equals, you're going to do, I can't quite show you on here, I'm going to do shift decimal point. It's got the tiny little equals there. Okay. The right hand side is 1 plus 3 sine x. Okay. And our variable's called x. We're going from 0 up to 360. Takes a little while, and it usually says there may be more solutions. There we go. So we've got our 41.8, 138.2 and 270, which is super. And the other way to do it, just to remind you, is in the graph. So if you draw a graph of the left hand side, okay, and a graph of the right hand side, okay, I'm just going to do view window, and I'm going to go trig at the minute, but actually I want my x to go from 0 up to 360. Okay. Now, because there's some kind of transformation, we might not have big enough y values, but we'll have a look. Yeah, it's quite hard to see. So I'm going to go view window, and I'm going to make my y go from, say, -5 up to 5. There we go, that's a bit better. So we want to find the points of intersection, so we do g solve and then isict for intersect. And there's our first one, 41.8, and our second one, 138.2, and our final one, we can see, 270.